Episode 49. If you don't give permission, even your pants. The first person to arrive at the Pungrio bar was Demon Lord Django. The large size and scars on the face overwhelmed everyone in the bar. I couldn't hear a single breath from the guests until Django crossed the first floor and came up to the second floor, and when he joined us, time finally stopped. "How have you been, Mr. Lee?" "I'm doing well. I don't know if they called someone who was busy for no reason. I would have been very disappointed if you hadn't invited me here. Of course I should call you. It's my first drinking party with all my people. Now, take a drink from me first." I poured Django a full drink. "Thank you." Seo Dae-ryong and Jang Ho also exchanged greetings. We knew each other because of the last letter incident. As Jang Ho sat next to the already small Seo Dae-ryong, he looked 3 times bigger. After drinking a glass of wine, I asked Django, "You've been very busy, right?" "I was busy at the beginning of my tenure, but things are getting better now. If you have any problems or concerns, please come to me at any time." "Sure. I will come to you first." Django was always dependable. Contrary to his appearance, he is an emotional and delicate person who values human relationships. When Jang Ho came, the speed of drinking increased. Django was as good a drinker as he was big. While drinking, Seo Dae-ryong secretly glanced at Jang Ho. It wasn't a glance, but a look filled with envy. "Are you jealous?" When I hit the nail on the head, Seo Dae-ryong was startled. "What? Do you envy Lord Jang?" Seo Dae-ryong took advantage of his intoxication to answer honestly. "Yes, honestly, I'm jealous. At one time, I also wanted to be like the monarch. Even though I failed. It's not too late yet. You said it before." He said he was disappointed because I lamented that it was already too late. But what if it's late? I'm already 32 years old. But it's not too late. Seo Dae-ryong, who was about to get angry for a moment, drank the drink in front of him. If it had been any other person, I would have yelled at him not to talk so easily about other people's business. I swallowed my anger with alcohol, but Seo Dae-ryong was refreshed. "Isn't it really too late?" I knew he was asking sincerely, so I answered sincerely. "It's too late." "Oh, that's right then." Seo Dae-ryong was disappointed. I guess I was wondering if it was really too late. On the contrary, there are good things about it. "What is that?" "I will try harder. Even if you throw your sword once, you will do so with more force than others, and even if you take a single step, you will have deeper concerns than others. Even so, isn't it true that we can't catch up in the end?" "I can catch up." "Ah, here comes a good example. The embodiment of denial of reality." Seo Dae-ryong and Jang Ho followed my gaze and looked towards the first floor. Ian, a large man, was hurried up to our seats on this floor, attracting everyone's attention. The person who walked that path one step ahead of you, the person who makes a living at the training center these days, and yet such a bright person comes over there. When Ian arrived, he first apologized. "Oh, I'm really sorry. Take a shower. I was late because I had to change into my uniform." "I'm just drinking, so what's the rush?" "We have to hurry, this is an event with precious people." Ian greeted the 2 people. "Hello, Lord Jang." "Inspector Seo." The 2 people stared at her as she greeted them brightly. Ian apologized again, wondering if it was because he was late. "I'm sorry, I'm late, right?" The reason Seo Dae-ryong stared at her was because she said she was an example, but Jang Ho did it for a different reason. Django spoke to her politely. "Something has changed, Ian." "Me?" "Yes. It feels different somehow." The eyes of the monarch leading the demon army were certainly unusual. Then Ian glanced at me and smiled and said, "I fell into training hell and even lost weight. It's a little different, right?" Of course, Ian and I know very well that that is not the case. This is because her prayers changed after learning the Baishan sword technique. It is still a secret that must never be told to the outside world about Baishan swordsmanship. Jang Ho probably felt that it was not only because of that, but he did not ask any more questions about the change. The weather was gloomy and I was desperate for a drink. "Give me that drink." Ian held out a glass and I poured him a full glass. "You have a hard time training, Ian." "What about the hardships?" "Of course it's something to do. And I know that you have practiced much more than me. You even have to reduce your sleep." Then Seo Dae-ryong was surprised. Really? Didn't you know? Seo Dae-ryong looked at me at Ian's question. You look like a person who can play pranks. Yes. But underneath that laser-looking shell is a warrior who is an incredibly hard worker. Seo Dae-ryong looked at me, then at Jang Ho, and then at Ian again. And I drank alone. I feel like I'm the only loser. But you work hard, right? Seo Dae-ryong bowed his head in comfort from Ian. I put off today's work until tomorrow and came to have a drink. Oh my. Our Inspector Seo looks like he's very diligent. Ian secretly teased him. At times like this, Ian appears to be a flawless young girl with a giggling smile. Now let's have a drink for today's loser. Ian raised his glass and we toasted. The loser also did not feel bad and joined in the final toast, saying, I am the main character. How is it? Everyone works so hard. Would you like to learn martial arts properly? Yes? To each lord? No. Then to whom? Seo Dae-ryong looked at Jang Ho without realizing it. Why are you looking there? The busiest person among us. I trained the executioners before, just in case. Would you like to learn if there is someone who can teach you? I may not be able to become your official disciple, but I will be able to teach you proper martial arts. Who are you? Instead of telling him who it was, I told him. Your determination comes first. If you decide to be reborn, tell me. I'll tell you who it is. I was thinking of him as the next nether footnote. But he was too young to be the next footnote. However, he was not a good scholar or had political connections. Something needed to be a footnote. Then suddenly, one person came to mind. A person who I didn't get along with at all, but who might get along better. I give it a slice. Think about it. Yes? Are you going to decide right here? Normally, if you think about things like this for a long time, you can't make a decision. After today's drinking, it's back to square one. You and me too. You know. Then Seo Dae-ryong fell into serious trouble and we drank while looking outside, where it seemed like rain was going to pour down at any moment. I drank quietly for Seo Dae-ryong. Because I, Ian, and Django have been thinking a lot lately. When we finished the bottle of alcohol, Seo Dae-ryong made a decision. I will try. Really? Yes. This is something that will change your life. I'm ready. What is life? If you see an opportunity, take it. If something goes wrong and I die, bury me in a sunny place. I'll bury it on a street where many pretty women walk. Great. Seo Dae-ryong coolly emptied the drink in front of him. Oh. Congratulations. Ian clapped vigorously and Django congratulated him. It wouldn't have been possible if someone else had recommended it. But when Gaku recommended it, my ears became strangely thin. Let's grab this. It's an opportunity. I had this thought. Ian smiled and agreed. Our master's persuasive skills are second to none. Django also nodded as if he acknowledged it. Seo Dae-ryong emptied his drink again as if he was in a good mood. He, who usually does not drink much, was drinking excessively. But as you know, I worked as an investigator for 10 years. I stayed up a lot of nights to become a special investigator. I feel bad about throwing it all away. Why did you quit being an investigator? Yes? There's no need to quit. Why should you quit when you are the person most needed in Hwangkyongak? It means being an actor without work after hours. Seo Dae-ryong heard me as a joke. Are you tired to death? Instead, the dream I couldn't achieve will come true. Seo Dae-ryong looked at me as I answered seriously and was surprised. No way? Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. What's so urgent about learning late? Slowly learn after work. It's urgent because it's late. Can you become a master by learning like that? Shouldn't I risk everything in my life and take on this challenge? Seo Dae-ryong looked at Jang-ho and asked for support. However, Django did not respond and just looked at me as if he was listening to me. Seo Dae-ryong, unable to find reinforcements, returned to the battlefield. I spoke to him calmly. Usually that's why everything fails. You may think you can risk your life, but in reality, it doesn't work out. Rather, it is more difficult if there is time left from morning to night. I have so much time, but why am I not making any progress? What on earth am I doing? I feel frustrated and defeated. You will achieve much greater results when you just work on your own time and make an effort little by little. Because it's not just work, it's also fun. Ian and Django, not Seo Dae-ryong, the person involved, nodded. Seo Dae-ryong seemed to have complicated feelings. And what matters is who you learn from. If you learn from a true expert who matches well with you, the training time is not very meaningful. For a person like that, just learning to drink a cup of tea will be better than a lifetime of babbling by a clumsy bastard. Who is the real expert? Even Ian and Django were curious about who they were planning to make as their master. It will come soon. You're coming here. Not only Seo Dae-ryong, but also Ian and Django were surprised. So, did you know that Inspector Seo would make this decision? Are you a fortune teller? No, that I came up with it by accident. Then he doesn't know about this situation? Of course. Oh my God. Seo Dae-ryong drank one more drink. He had already exceeded his usual drinking limit and was starting to enter the stage where alcohol led to drinking. Whether you get permission or not is the biggest battle. If that doesn't work, I'll have to hold on to my pants and hang on. We all drank together, making sure to get permission. Ian told Seo Dae-ryong to put his mouth to his glass, but he emptied his glass cleanly, saying he couldn't do that before an important event. I don't know who it is, but I will definitely get permission. Unless you give permission, the right pant leg is mine. Sir, please take charge of the left side. Seo Dae-ryong felt refreshed, perhaps because he thought that something he had dreamed of for a long time would come true. The master you saved must be a really great and good person. Of course, as soon as Ian said that. Flash! Rumble! Boom! Lightning struck and thunder was heard. It looks like it's starting to pour in earnest now. It was right then. Oh, there he comes. Everyone's eyes turned to the first floor at my words. A person was entering there. After checking the other person, Ian covered his mouth and suppressed a scream. Django was also startled and opened his eyes wide. Seo Dae-ryong, who had his back turned his head for the last time. I could see Seo Dae-ryong's surprise in real time. He opened his eyes wide, screamed a single word, tried to get up, and even spilled his drink. Thud! The person who arrived at our place placed a large sword on the floor. Bloody demonic energy gushed out from his small, torn eyes. Where are you so arrogant and asking people to come and go? The person who arrived was none other than Hyolkian Doma. Shoot! As if waiting, it started to rain. Episode 50. When the rain stops, birds will fly. I glanced at the people where Hyolkian Doma was located. The meaning behind those disapproving eyes was as follows. Are you telling me to sit among these rags? Before the words came out of my mouth, I greeted him warmly. Welcome, old man. Now, please sit down here. When everyone stood up and greeted them politely, he pretended not to be able to win and sat down. Why did you call me? As Jeomsun misunderstood in the past, it seems he thought I would be alone. In fact, the second problem for Hyolkian Doma was who was at the drinking party, and he was just an unfamiliar and burdensome person at this drinking party. He is not used to this kind of private atmosphere, like when I gave him a birthday present. Why would you call me to a bar? I invited him to have a drink with me. I poured him a drink. Although he looked nervous, Hyolkian Doma accepted the drink. You become younger when you hang out with young people. What should I do when I'm young? It's good to look younger even by a day. What would you do if you were a master, and what would you do if you had power? We all have to kneel before time. What kind of time has passed when you're so young? Everyone was listening to our conversation with surprised faces. You wouldn't have thought that Hyolkian Doma and I would have such an easy conversation. It means to live and enjoy this moment. What will everyone regret when they die? Couldn't I learn more martial arts? Couldn't I build more skills? Couldn't they defeat the sword demon who lives somewhere over there? I don't think it's all right. That's why we're causing this mess before everyone dies. I don't want to die with such idiotic regrets. It will be different for the elderly. What did I say? You are young and awake for your age, right? Since ancient times, isn't the best compliment given in front of people? Joy! Hyolkian Doma snorted and drank, but he didn't look that disgusted. Seo Dae-ryong had a really complicated face after he came in. His drunken eye seemed to say this. I don't want to do it. No, right? It's a joke, right? I feel sorry for him who was shocked and scared, but he was right. I intend to make Hyul Doma the master of Seo De Ryong. Jang Ho offered a drink to Hyul Doma. Thank you so much for recommending me earlier. I finally say hello to you now. It wasn't my intention, it was because of the master here, so please send your greetings over there. I have received enough, so you too should receive a greeting. In fact, it would have been impossible if it weren't for the elderly. Hyul Doma looked at Django and said, I recommended it because I thought it was a position I could handle, so don't worry about it. Thank you. Django's expression brightened as he heard praise for the first time from Majin. A person's nature will not change easily, but attitudes can change depending on the situation. There is a really big difference between Hyul Doma when I first met him and Hyul Doma now. So much so that I can make this suggestion. I have something to ask you, sir. What? I looked at Seo De Ryong. He could no longer withstand the alcohol and lowered his head with his eyes closed. Please teach this friend martial arts. Hyul Doma was surprised because it was something he had never thought of. Who is this rat? Just as I was about to introduce him, Seo De Ryong raised his head and shouted in a tongue-twisting voice. He has a power-oriented and heartless personality, but he is a man who only loves one woman. He is a rebellious man who raises his hand alone when everyone else is silent, but he is also a pacifist and the right-hand man of each lord, Seo De Ryong. And it's not that rat. After pouring out a bunch, he lowered his head again. We could tell. That Seo De Ryong was completely drunk. Ha ha ha. I laughed out loud and Ian lowered his head and suppressed his laughter. Django smiled and drank. He was a genius when it came to memory, seeing as he could remember exactly what I said even when he was drunk. What is that strange crazy guy? I'm very drunk, so please understand. What is martial arts? Just look at your face and consider yourself lucky that I didn't kill you. He is exactly what we need. Hate. Elder. The Hyul Doma looked at me as if glaring. But why me? Because you have the best skills. I want to have him learn from the most talented person. If you are not my disciple, how can you teach me martial arts? Then make him your disciple. What? I don't think there is anyone among the current disciples who can take over the elder's position. The youngest student is kind, but with his personality, it will be difficult for him to become a successor. What do you think of this friend here? Hate. Hyul Doma flatly refused. Wouldn't you have lived your whole life doing only what you wanted to do? Now, just do some things you don't like. Because I don't like it. Why don't you like it? Isn't there a reason you don't like it? I just don't like it. I don't like it, but what's the reason? It was right then. I don't like it either. Everyone's eyes turned to the owner of the voice. It was Seo De Ryong, the main character of Drunk who risked his life. Would you like it to be me? Surprised, Ian tried to stop him, but he was already challenging Hyul Doma with gory eyes. Old man chopping. Fortunately, it wasn't called Demaya. I clearly said no. So don't even dream of teaching me. Not. It works. You. All. He said no, one by one, saying no. Everyone was nervous, fearing that every time they said a word, a blood vessel would come out. Seo De Ryong, who was raising his voice, looked at me this time. The guy's eyes were already completely opened. Well, if he was in his right mind, he wouldn't have done that to Hyul Doma. Ah, this is a flashback. Our respected lord. Let me ask you something. It looks like you are going to be murdered soon, so I will answer you sincerely. Why are you trying to throw me away to that heartless person? I feel sad when you do this. The veins on Hyul Doma's forehead bulged. I smiled at Hyul Doma with an expression that asked him to understand. Why would you do that? He's a martial arts actor. So why? To raise your self-esteem. Although I didn't say it here, it was to make him the next nether footnote. If you learn martial arts from Hyul Doma, you will have a stronger background than anyone else. Ah, I guess I have low self-esteem. He lowered his head again. Li Yun was next to him and held his body. You were very drunk. I will take you first. When she tried to get up, Seo De Ryong rejected her hand. I'm not drunk, my heart. Heart? Yes, I have arms. Ian is the heart. Our heart is more precious than our arms. You can cut off your arm, but you can't hurt your heart. Ian will think that Seo Dae-ryong is drunk and talking nonsense. The jealous guy is smart, so even during this time, he remembers everything. I politely asked Hyul-ki and Doma again. After work, please teach me half-time. A few days is fine, a few years is fine. If you don't like this guy, you can teach him for just one day. Please give me a chance. You really believe that drunkard? I trust my elders. There was a vague resemblance between Hyul-ki and Doma and Seo Dae-ryong. In that it is a bit out of the mainstream, yet has greater passion than anyone else in the mainstream. Just when the words dislike were about to come out of Hyul-ki and Doma's mouth, I said no. Seo Dae-ryong struck first. Hyul-ki and Doma frowned. I saw it then. The emotions contained in Hyul-ki and Doma's eyes. Can you tell me what it is like to really hate it? Why don't you give it a try? Without even knowing it, Seo Dae-ryong pouted his lips and shook his head in front of the Hyul-ki and chopping block with his eyes almost closed. If I had stuck out my tongue, I would have definitely cut it off. Fortunately, Seo Dae-ryong hit his head on the table and fell asleep before the sword from the blood heaven chopping demon flew in. He was a fierce warrior. This will be the bravest shot so far and for the rest of my life. And it was also the injection that changed his life. Hyul-ki and Doma asked me, "What will you do if I teach that damn bastard martial arts?" A prepared answer came out of my mouth. I will release your long-held feelings. Hyul-ki and Doma will know what that means. There was a moment of silence and we drank again. There was no longer any conversation asking me to teach martial arts. We just talked about various things and drank quietly. When 2 more bottles of alcohol were empty, Ian stretched out and Django stayed until the end and became my drinking partner with Hyul-ki and Doma. While drinking, I went out of the bar for a while. As I was standing there getting some fresh air, Hyul-ki and Doma came and stood next to me. That wasn't a joke earlier, was it? Yes. You can't let an elderly person learn martial arts for free. Hyul-ki and Doma was silent for a while. Does he really want reconciliation with Ilkwa Jeomsun? Hyul-ki and Doma, who was looking across the street, suddenly asked. Is that branch over there effective? It's going well. No, is it effective? Is it helpful in raising your reputation? They probably think I set it up to increase popularity. Yes. It's helping me a lot. I didn't bother to convince him that it was built for the residents of Magashon. He won't understand that helping them is as important as killing the Soul Mason. Please take good care of Inspector Seo. I really do all sorts of things. What are you going to do, leaving the baby in your care? I'm busy. What are you so busy about? Every day I have to figure out how to kill things that don't look like humans. I have to run here and there to save my right wing. I have to flatter my father. He noticed that the right wing was Ilkwa Jeomsun. Then, do you have a left wing? Yes. If you want to do it on the right, I will change it for you. Hyul-ki and Doma shook his head with a puzzled expression. You are truly crazy. You're thinking of uniting Jeomsun and me with one wing. He said that to me at first. If it's my madness, I think I can risk my fate. Let's devour them all with madness. Have you already forgotten? I didn't know you were this crazy. Let's go crazy together. Are you hesitating about how long you have left to live? Is that something you would say to an adult? Because he's crazy. Hyul-ki and Doma smiled slightly. I will be leaving school soon and will be away for a couple of months. In the meantime, please take care of our children. I get it. I knew, without asking anything, this simple word sounded so reassuring. Even through today's drinking party, I feel that his door has opened a little more. But I'm still not sure what's inside that door. The other wing is needed to open the door wide. When 2 wings face each other and flutter and compete, you will finally understand why those wings move like that. The rain will stop soon. Even birds will fly. I was on my way back with Ian after drinking. I made another mistake today. What is a mistake? If you drink like that, it's natural to fall asleep. Falling asleep is also an injection. Anyway, you're not going to drink like that unless I'm around, right? That's true, though. Then it's not an injection. It's a break. Ian smiled at my words. How many questions can I ask? It depends on what the question is. For example, why are you so nice to me? I am willing to be asked this question for the rest of my life. 5 times. From now on. Yes, from now on. Why are you so nice to me? I plan to pamper myself for the rest of my life. Why are you so curious about the same answer you hear? Ian laughed bitterly. I'm going to ask again. There are 4 left. So we walked together in the soft moonlight. Ian asked as if a thought suddenly occurred to him. But what about Inspector Seo? I saw you a lot earlier. Did you go first? That guy's master took him away before you woke up. Master? Ian opened his eyes wide in surprise. No way. We went together. Episode 51, that's it. Ooh. Seo De Ryong got up from the bed with all kinds of expressions on his face. I'm thirsty for water. Water. Next. Hearing someone's words, Seo De Ryong instinctively reached out his hand and drank the water placed on the nightstand next to the bed. Ooh, my head. From now on, if I drink alcohol, everything will be fine. Seo De Ryong drank water from the kettle. Only after quenching my thirst did I realize that I had woken up in an unfamiliar place. The bed was large and soft, and the bedding was soft and luxurious. Now that I think about it, who was the person who just said next to me? Seo De Ryong looked around. In the distance, a person was sitting by the window and reading a book. I couldn't recognize him because of the sunlight. Who? As his eyes gradually become accustomed to the light, his figure catches the eye of Seo De Ryong. Ah! Seo De Ryong screamed. The man who was reading the book was none other than Hyolkian Doma. Where is it? Why is the Majin here? Seo De Ryong was so surprised that he even stuttered. Because it's my room. Oh my. Why am I here? Don't you remember? Yes. When we were about to part ways at the bar, you jumped up and screamed that I had to carry you. How could you leave your disciple behind? He even grabbed my pants. Me? No way. Seo De Ryong was so embarrassed that he ended up holding onto his pants legs and didn't know what to do. I don't know how many decades it has been since foot traffic was allowed. Blood Heavenly Demon glanced at Seo De Ryong. Do you want to die but don't have the courage to jump off the cliff? At that time, there was one question on Seo De Ryong's mind. But why did you make me sleep in the old man's bed? Of course you don't remember that either, right? Seo De Ryong gasped and tensed. When I brought him to sleep in the guest room, he called me a heartless master for letting his student sleep in such a shabby place. Then he sat down on the floor and cried because of all the treatment he received, saying that he was a bastard who deserved to be treated like this. Is life difficult? It was hard for me too. I'm holding back from wanting to kill you. Seo De Ryong quickly got down from the bed and knelt down. I'm sorry. I will stop drinking from now on. Why are you quitting that good drink? You should stop taking your injections. Yes, I will hang up everything. Please forgive me. I drank too much yesterday. No matter how much he yelled and behaved, he could have pointed out the blood transfusion and thrown it in the stable instead of the guest room. It was so surprising that they let me sleep in my own room, even on a bed. Of course, it may be because of the sword dance, but I never thought he would let me sleep in his own bed. Seo De Ryong saw a new side of Hyolkian Doma. Go see. Yes. The outerwear was neatly folded on the table next to the bed. Of course, the dispute may have calmed down, but I felt like I was treated properly. Meanwhile, Hyolkian Doma was reading a book, and the sight was unfamiliar. Are you trying to act knowledgeable in front of me? But strangely enough, the image of him reading a book suited him. When I looked around the room, there were several bookshelves and many books on them. At that time, there was a book that caught his eye. Huh? What about this book? Seo De Ryong inadvertently pulled a book from the bookshelf. It was a book I had read several times since I was young, as it was an adventure story about a boy meeting his master and growing into a hero. It's my favorite book. Have you read it? He looked back at Hyolkian Doma excitedly. On the other hand, Hyolkian Doma was glaring at him frighteningly. I hate people who mess with my things. OMG! Surprised, Seo De Ryong dropped the book and blocked it with his foot to keep it from falling on the floor. The book bounced off my foot and rolled on the floor. There was silence. Seo Dae-ryong's eyes darkened when he saw the open and crumpled book. Soon your situation will be like that book. Seo Dae-ryong rushed over, picked up the book, and straightened the crumpled part with his hands. Sorry. Fortunately, the uninteresting part was crumpled. I'm sorry. Fortunately, instead of cutting off Seo Dae-ryong's arm, Hyeolkian-doma turned his attention to the book he was reading. Today he was forgiveness incarnate. I'll just go now. I timidly said hello and was about to leave the room when Hyeolkian-doma suddenly asked, Why do you like that book? I thought the main character was similar to me. He was born poor, had a dark personality, and couldn't adapt well to the people around him. It's a story about a guy like that becoming a hero. I've probably read it 20 times by now. It's a book I keep by my side and take out and read whenever I can't sleep. Hyeolkian-doma, who had been staring at Seo Dae-ryong for a moment, did not respond but turned his attention back to the book he was reading. Then I will go. Thank you so much for letting me sleep. Then, Hyeolkian-doma asked again. Do you think Lee Gongya will be the successor? There was no need to hesitate with this question. Yes. The reason is, he is a great person. More than any other people I've seen. I believe that our school will change because of him. Of course, in a good way. Can you give your life for him? Seo Dae-ryong thought for a moment and then answered honestly. No. I heard Gongya Lee is a great person. I'm not. You cannot be a great person who will sacrifice for others. Although his eyes were still focused on the book, the corners of Hyeolkian-doma's mouth rose slightly. Wait in the yard. Yes. Seo Dae-ryong stood in the yard and waited for Hyeolkian-doma. Are you trying to use that as an excuse to beat me up because I said I wasn't prepared to die for you? Should I have said I could die? While he was so anxious, Hyeolkian-doma came out late and threw a large sword. Sigh! The sword that flew lightly landed in front of Seo Dae-ryong's feet. Although it was not as large as the Myolkian Great Sword, it was a long sword with a wider blade and longer length than a typical sword. Listen. Yes. Seo Dae-ryong drew out his sword. Since the martial arts he had previously learned was swordsmanship, he had never practiced martial arts. I've never even heard of it like this. How do you feel? Although he didn't know what the intention of the question was, Seo Dae-ryong said the first thought that came to his mind. It's heavy. Hyeolkian-doma nodded and said. That's it. Yes? Understanding that heaviness is the beginning and end of the teachings I want to pass on. At that moment, something touched Seo Dae-ryong's heart. My heart was pounding. Seo Dae-ryong, who was looking down at the province, raised his head with a flushed face. That's because I drank too much yesterday. Or you have a heart disease. Yes. Hyeolkian-doma turned around. Don't be late for training later. Yes. I won't be late. Seo Dae-ryong put down the dao in the corner of the yard and went out, then came back and took the dao and came out. As I was walking out of there, I wondered if it was true that I just had a conversation with Hyeolkian-doma or if I really slept here. Maybe it's still a dream. He walked out of there, feeling a hangover weighing on his whole body as heavily as the sword he held in his hand. Seo Dae-ryong entered my office. He was still sober and looked disheveled, but he was wearing a sword on his waist that I had never seen before. Just by looking at the sword, you could tell that things with Hyeolkian-doma had gone well. Is your right arm here? It must be the right arm sent to the dead. Luckily I didn't get cut. No, how could you send me along to blood heavenly chopping demon? Each state should have taken care of it. You don't seem to remember anything about yesterday. Seo Dae-ryong flinched at those words. You insisted that you would go with Hyeolkian-doma even if you died. Do you even know what he said to me? What did I say? Why are you trying to separate the master and the disciple? I thought we were really friends who had been together for 50 years. Don't lie. I wish I was lying too. He said he wouldn't learn martial arts even if he died until he fell asleep, but suddenly he woke up as a master student. If in doubt, ask Prince Jiang. Lord Jiang looked at you and shook his head. Is there really such a crazy drunkard living inside me? Seo Dae-ryong held his head. It's a shame. What? You have a personality and like it when you are gloomy, but these days you are becoming too bright. It's even as funny as yesterday. Don't worry. It will be dark again tomorrow. What do you mean? This is my first training after work today. You'll probably kill me halfway. Ah. I hope it never ends. It's a shame. Because I didn't see that. Yes? I will be leaving school today. It will take about 2 months, so please take care of Hwangkyongak while I am gone. The playfulness disappeared from Seo Dae-ryong's face. Are you going out because of that? That's what happened. Then Seo Dae-ryong pointed to his eyes with his finger. Only then did I know what he was talking about. Yesterday, before going out for a drink, Seo Dae-ryong spoke in front of the Seoul Mason's residence. It's the look you gave me before you did the impossible by looking into my eyes. That's right, that's what happened. It must be dangerous. Fortunately, this won't be that dangerous. I plan to use the risk I had previously saved. Yes? Seo Dae-ryong said he didn't know what it meant, but he didn't explain further. Seo Dae-ryong bowed his head politely, his face showing no signs of mischief. Please be careful. I'm sorry for always worrying you like this. If you want to help me with something later, study hard from Thomas. As I was about to come out, Seo Dae-ryong called me. Mr. Footnote. Why? If it weren't for Gakyu, I would never have had the opportunity to learn martial arts from Majin in my life. You don't know what's going on in the world. If it weren't for me, I might have had the opportunity to learn martial arts from my father. Good luck then. Yes. Don't worry and go here. I went to see Ian and told him about the training I needed to do for the next 2 months, and then I quietly left the church. I continued running northwest. As the level of the Punksinsabo gradually increased, the speed of the speedboat also increased. Unless you are a master specializing in light attack, the speed was no longer able to reach my toes. When I ran like crazy and ran out of energy, I took a break and had a rest in a deserted place in the forest. When my energy was full, I ran again, and when my energy ran out, I ran out of luck again. When I got hungry while running, I hunted using the jibalchal that my father taught me. Now I can immediately feel the wild boar in the forest in the distance. When a wild boar was slaughtered and roasted over a bonfire, hunters or herbalists passing by would join in and have a drink. Before I returned, I had met many of them and were close to them, so I felt comfortable and happy with them. When I was about halfway to my destination, I adjusted my speed from then on. There was no point in arriving too early anyway, so I enjoyed the journey itself. If there was a mountain worth climbing, I climbed it. Of course, instead of just walking up, we climbed up the cliff. I climbed only by physical ability without any internal strength and checked my physical condition. Are there any painful areas? Are there any areas where the muscles are lacking? If you mainly use internal energy, you tend to neglect your natural body, and that is where the difference between a true expert and a mediocre expert is found. Real people don't miss the smallest details. Because I know that small differences are everything in the end, I never miss a single detail of my body. While climbing the cliff, if the sunset was far away, I would sit on a rock or tree sticking out in the middle of the cliff and look at the scenery. When I saw the beauty of Mother Nature like that, I felt like something that had been blocked in my heart was being opened. I made a promise with Ian to go on a cruise in the Central Plains, but as I sit on the edge of the cliff like this and watch the sunset, I think of my father more than Ian. I wanted to travel with my father. I want to have a conversation while looking at this view together. I wanted to know what kind of person my father was and what he thought about during his life. Do I really have that opportunity? Will such a moment ever come to us? Before my return, I never even dreamed that I would develop such close feelings towards my father. Maybe I missed my father, whom I couldn't even talk to properly. Even though I was enjoying the journey like this, when I had to run, I ran until I was out of breath. By the time we arrived at our destination, the level of speed walking had risen to the next level. The running speed became faster and the amount of energy required decreased. Ha 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 ha. I ran down the street laughing like a crazy person. As the level of Punksinsabo increased, I felt that it was a martial art that touched the nature of the person who saw the speed. Because it was a martial art that brought the pleasure of running to the extreme, it was addictive and made me want to keep running. Now, even if a person on the street saw me, I pass by at a speed that wouldn't even recognize me. It literally just passes by. In fact, I have heard this conversation several times. Didn't someone just pass by? What? I didn't see it. As I walked while thinking about something else, I reached a point where I didn't even know what I had passed by. If you go up one level, you won't even be able to tell if a person or a bird has passed by even if you open your eyes. How about a speedboat that has achieved great success? I thought that maybe I wouldn't even feel it passing by. The place I arrived at was a place where no one at our school could have imagined that this would be my destination. This was Hongsan, where the headquarters of Co. Puncheonggyo Bridge was located. This is where the first material for the return method, the sound bell, was obtained. I came back here again. Episode 52, If I Hate You Like You Do. The first place I stopped by was a guest house in the village below Hongsan Mountain. The guest house was crowded with people, and the workers were also very busy. I stood at the entrance for a while, but no one came to me. At that time, I saw a kid carrying dishes back and forth between the kitchen and the customers. The moment I saw that child, a smile came to my face. In my pre-return life, when I came here to rescue Yin Lijiang, that little boy became a grown man and greeted me. His face was the same as it was when he was young. The child who found me too late ran over to help me. Hello, warrior, as you can see, there are no seats available right now. Do you have a room? No, there is no room. There are a lot of customers because of the Blood God Festival. When is the Blood God Festival held? Exactly 10 days later. There is another guest house at the end of that street, and things will probably be no different there. The hectic child left those words and ran after being called by another customer. It arrived at the right time, 10 days before the Blood God Festival. The Blood God ceremony is the biggest ceremony to honor the Blood God once a year at Puncheon Bridge. This was the reason why 2 months were needed for the third method to block the magic of the Soul Mason. Blood God. This is because only on the day when this Blood God Festival is held can one obtain a way to subdue the Subsoul Mason. Fortunately, the Blood God Festival was 2 months later, so if the timing wasn't right, it could have been a year later before they killed the Seob Honmazon. In the past, it took several years to infiltrate the seat of power of the Puncheon cult leader where the Yin Lei Bell was kept. This was the time it took for the leader of Puncheon to find out the secret route to escape in case of emergency. In fact, it took less than half an hour to infiltrate and retrieve the sacred object, but it took that long to figure out the passage. Even though I discovered the secret passage with difficulty, it was still not easy to steal the sound bell. The problem was the Puncheon religious leader. He spent most of his time in the seat of power. I ate there and even slept there. He couldn't take advantage of the short time he had to resolve his physiological phenomenon. This is because there is an iron bar made of iron that lasts 10,000 years where the sacred objects, including the sound bell, are kept. Moreover, not only was there a Puncheon religious leader here, but there was also someone who guarded the shrine. He was wearing shackles made of iron for 10,000 years and living around the Yumrei Bell like an earthly spirit. Not only was he excellent at martial arts, but he was also a person born with an excellent sense of smell. If someone approached, I noticed it right away and warned the Puncheon religious leader. Therefore, it was impossible to steal a sacred item while avoiding the eyes of the Puncheon religious leader. How could I bring a sound bell under these circumstances? Just once a year, there is a moment when the iron bars go up and the Puncheon religious leader leaves the place for a moment. It is the day when the Blood God Festival is held. On this day, according to established rituals, the head of the Puncheon church leaves his throne and holds a ceremonial ceremony at the main banquet hall. At that time, the shackle master guarding the sound bell rang the bell 36 times according to the law, and what I was aiming for was the moment when the last 36th bell was rung. After the last bell rings, the time it takes for the head of the Puncheon church to return from the grand banquet hall to the throne is 1 day. In the short time I had to drink a cup of tea, I achieved a miracle. Because I practiced escaping dozens of times, I was able to run away from the Puncheon believers' pursuit. Investigating, infiltrating, recruiting, fighting, practicing, so many things that happened back then passed by like a flash of light. What I was targeting this time was stored in the same place as the sound bell. Since it was a simpler task than stealing a bulky sound bell, this trip to Puncheon can be seen as a gift to me from my hard life. I stood in front of the guest house for a moment and watched the crowds coming and going. When the Blood God ceremony was held, congratulatory envoys were sent from numerous bangpa that interacted with Puncheon Bridge, so not only the guest houses but also the streets were filled with people. It was also what I wanted. Because there are so many people, no one will remember that I exist. Of course, even in this situation, I was hiding my identity thoroughly, even wearing bamboo gloves. I will come quietly and disappear without a sound. At various stores in the area, I bought some supplies needed for camping, basic food, and a medicine boiler needed to brew medicine. And the last place we arrived at was the pharmacy. Are you asking for vaporizer? The old man in the pharmacy looked at me with a surprised face. Vaporative candles are expensive. Giwacho is a medicinal herb that only grows here in Saoe and cannot be found in the Central Plains. How much does one gun cost? How much do you need? I need 2 pounds. You have to pay 80 nyang per gun. I don't know if you know this, but it's a very precious herb. All right. I'll buy 2 pounds for that price. But what are you going to use the vaporizing candle for? The old man looked at me again, as it was an herb that was not commonly used. However, since I came here, I had been wearing bamboo rags so deeply that I couldn't see my face. The voice was also different from mine. I don't know either. I live because I ordered it from above. The old man didn't ask any more questions and brought some vaporizing candles. After confirming the medicinal herbs, the old man gave me some well-packaged medicinal herbs. I paid the old man and left. After leaving the pharmacy, I went to another pharmacy located far away. This time, what I found were girion trees and silica flowers. After obtaining the 2 medicinal herbs there, I went to a pharmacy in another village far away and purchased datura and sandalwood. There was one reason to get medicinal herbs from so many places. The purpose was to prevent others from knowing what these herbs were made from. There won't be any problems if we all live in one place, but we were prepared for one emergency. There is nothing wrong with being careful. Annoyances in life come back as financial losses, but in martial arts, annoyances cost lives. After getting all the necessary herbs, I climbed the mountain that way. Deep in the mountains, where there were no people, there was a cave where I had once lived. I cleaned up the place and boiled the medicine first. Depending on the ingredients, some herbs need to be boiled separately, while others need to be boiled together. It had to take at least a few days. This medicine was an elixir that could paralyze the sense of smell of a master wearing shackles. It is said that he has been held captive for his entire life since he was young, so he must still be there now. At the time and cost it took to discover this secret was significant. While the medicine was brewing, I sat cross-legged and practiced the Kionma self-defense technique. I almost died when I first learned it, but now I have become a helper I can't live without. The more I practice, the more I feel the specialness of Kionma self-defense technique. Is it because of the characteristics of the heavenly demon tiger god? When a crisis comes, it wakes me up and activates on its own, so there were many times when it felt like the Kionma Protectorate was a living martial art. I know that it will become even more powerful if it gets along with the 9-flame demon lord, so I just hope that day comes soon. After practicing late at night, I came out of the cave and looked up at the stars in the night sky. Even before my return, I stood here and looked at the night sky, and there is one thing that feels decidedly different from then. At that time, I only had the thought of going back, but now the longing for the people I want to see is taking the place of going back. In particular, I was curious about whether Seo Daeryong was learning martial arts well from Hyolki and Doma. They may both deny it, but they are secretly similar. You must be doing well, right? On the first day of training, Seo Daeryong was waiting for Hyolki and Doma in the yard. I arrived on time, but the blood-chopping block had not come out yet. Learning martial arts from Hyolki and Doma really felt like his heart was going to explode. I swung the sword alone. If you don't use your inner strength, it's still too heavy. Thinking not to lose his strength for no reason, he waited for the Hyolki and chopping block. Even after waiting for a long time, no one came out, so Seo Daeryong carefully approached the living quarters of Hyolki on Doma. As I was looking inside through the closed window, I felt a cold air next to me. I was startled and turned around to see Hyolki and Doma, who had already appeared, peering into the window. Why are you spying so much? Ua! Seo Daeryong, startled, screamed. I'm sorry. I was waiting to see if you were inside. I heard that Li Gongya was expelled from school. Yes. It takes about 2 months, right? You heard me. That would be enough time for someone to go missing or die in an accident. Seo Daeryong spoke quickly. Mr. Lord, you are such an intelligent person that you would not believe that something so tragic could happen in just 2 months. He is an intelligent person, so he will quickly forget the tragedy that has already occurred. Hyolki and Doma pretended to dig out an eyeball with his long, thin fingers. I will never steal from now on. Then what are you doing here? Ah yes. Going. Seo Dae-ryong quickly ran to the center of the yard. Hyle Kyeon-doma taught Seo Dae-ryong how to hold and wield the sword. Then he said as he went inside. 1,000 times. Seo Dae-ryong was swinging his sword with his whole body wet with sweat. 853, 854. The weight was so heavy that it felt like my arm was going to fall off. I can't do this anymore. Seo Dae-ryong lay down on the floor. Even if Hyle Kyeon-doma was watching, he couldn't do it. I didn't even have the strength to lift a finger. Normally, I would be at home eating snacks and lying in bed reading a book. Did I do something for nothing? As I was physically tired, I felt regret. No. I already made up my mind. If you don't complete the training from the first day and are kicked out, you won't have the honor of watching the sword dance. Seo Dae-ryong jumped up and swung his sword. Just like that, we barely filled 1,000. I did it! Seo Dae-ryong, sitting down on the floor, looked down at the sword in his hand. This feeling of cold and heavy Tao. Yes, if you follow this feeling, it will definitely lead you to a better life than a life of wallowing. At that time, the window opened and the blood vessel appeared. If it's hard, quit. I won't stop you. Seo Dae-ryong suddenly stood up. It felt like his arm was going to fall off, but he spoke firmly. I won't quit. Why? Because you will never get an opportunity like this in your life. I will never pass on my German martial arts skills. I don't even want that. The opportunity I'm talking about is the opportunity to learn martial arts from Mason. I'll tell you later when I have children. This father learned martial arts from Master Hyle Kyeon-do when he was young. That's enough. It's enough to have those memories while living as an unman person. You are thinking of getting married. Yes, I would like to. Why? I want to raise my children. So, I want to give you the paternal love that my father never gave me. There was a story and sadness that could be felt in his words. What if your child hates you like you do? Then, would you please give my child this training as well? At Seo Dae-ryong's words, Hyle Kyeon-doma chuckled. Seo Dae-ryong felt happy and smiled brightly at the thought of making Hyle Kyeon-doma laugh. Hyle Kyeon-doma said as he closed the window. 1,000 more times. The 53rd variable is an envoy. Ha. Seo Dae-ryong's heavy breathing spread out toward the night sky as he lay on the ground. The moon, which was floating in the sky, could not be seen where it was hiding. It was a practice that started before dinner after work, but now it was well past midnight. I finally did it! I swung again 1,000 times when I thought I wouldn't be able to swing even once. I can't believe I swung this heavy sword 2,000 times a day. Seo Dae-ryong couldn't believe what he had accomplished. Of course, my posture would have collapsed later, but I gritted my teeth and swung. I had to get up and go home now, but Seo Dae-ryong couldn't move. I fell asleep. Seo Dae-ryong had a dream. Jiamujuk was in crisis, surrounded by enemies. That was when the enemies rushed towards the injured man. The sword stretched out like a thunderbolt and swept away the enemies. Enemies caught in the pottery turned into blood clots and disappeared. Soon, like a plum blossom falling down, he came down between the enemies and the sword dance. Now that he had become the greatest master of the Taoist way, he was holding a large sword like a blood-heavenly sword. He looked back at the sword dance and asked with a faint smile. Are you okay? Footnote. A satisfied smile appeared on the lips of Seo Dae-ryong, who was sleeping. Right arm. You came. Seo Dae-ryong turned to his enemies and spoke coolly at the words of the sword dance filled with emotion. I am here, so rest. Take a good night's sleep. At that time, a familiar voice was heard from somewhere. Can you stop getting up now? Seo Dae-ryong instinctively listened to those words and turned over. I didn't want to wake up from such a pleasant dream. The dream of becoming a master and traveling around the world was also his real dream. Seo Dae-ryong continued to sleep. After rescuing the beauties in danger in the dream, they took off on a boat together. I woke up with a happy smile on my face as I watched the women fighting to get their love. Among them was Jo Hyang, a junior. It was the first time in my life that I woke up smiling like this. It felt so good. So much so that I don't want to get up. But where am I? An unfamiliar ceiling. No, it wasn't completely unfamiliar. No way. Seo Dae-ryong jumped up and screamed. Ooh! Despite the good dream, my whole body felt like it was going to break apart. It felt like someone had beaten my whole body with a club all night long. Seo Dae-ryong looked around. Where? It was the very sleeping quarters of Hyul Doma where he drank and slept. Oh my God! Why am I sleeping here? I even remember lying down on the floor after swinging the second 1,000 times. Fortunately, the blood-chopping block was not in the room. He got up with a grunt and walked carefully. When Seo Dae-ryong walked to the window, he was startled. Hyul Doma was swinging the sword in the same yard where he had swung the sword yesterday. Seo Dae-ryong, who was about to rush out and say hello, stopped. The sight of him wielding a sword caught his attention. Hyul Doma swung the sword in the same posture he had taught himself yesterday. The way to hold the sword was the same and the way to wield it was also the same. At that moment, Seo Dae-ryong knew. The training that he taught himself was the training that Hyul Doma did when he first learned martial arts. I didn't just order it to make me suffer. At that time, Hyul Doma, who was wielding a sword as if he had eyes on his back, suddenly spoke. Is it okay to joke that there are no footnotes? Who? Come to think of it. The sun was high in the sky. Ah. I'm late. Seo Dae-ryong quickly got dressed and came out. I'm going. Seo Dae-ryong bowed and was about to turn away, but then turned back again. Thank you so much for letting me sleep again. Even if Hyul Doma had given me money or reports, I wouldn't have been so moved. Oh, of course I would be happy, but my personality was different from my current feelings. Wouldn't it be more difficult for Hyul Doma to let someone sleep in his own bed than to give him money? This feeling of being valued was incomparable to anything else. Next time something similar happens, just throw it in a random room. Kill it but drink it. Then I'll see you later this afternoon. Then, Hyul Doma asked with an expression of surprise. Come. You should come. They don't admit that it hurts. It's the 2000th time today. When I heard the words 2000 times, my whole body was disgusted and I was screaming no, but my mouth said yes. He said. Because it's not hard to wear anyway. After answering vigorously, Seo Dae-ryong ran away. You're late. Tardy. I was so tired that I felt like I was going to die. I didn't even want to think about practicing again today, but it felt strangely good. I wanted to continue learning from Hyul Doma. Honestly, I wanted to impress him. The decoction was completed over several days. I put the prepared medicine into a palm-sized vial. There are still 5 days left until the Blood God Festival. Now that the medicine has been created, I plan to go scouting to the throne of the Wind God cult leader today to see if the secret passage is working well. After descending the mountain, the place I arrived was a wasteland located not far from Pungcheonggyo Bridge. It was a place with several withered trees and rocks, poisonous insects and poisonous snakes buzzing around, and trash blown by the wind rolling around. A place where no one comes even though you stay there all day long. There was a large rock there, and I operated a series of hidden devices underneath both sides of the rock. Slurp. Then the rock opened and a passage appeared. I was impressed at the time, but looking at it now, it was a really well-made institution. How can an unmarked passage like this be created? As we entered the rock, the door automatically closed. When the hidden device was operated again from inside, the door opened from the floor. I took out the night wine and went down to the underground passage. The aisle was wide. It seemed like a passageway built to transport sound bells in case of emergency. Thanks to this, I was able to steal the sound bell through this place. I took out the medicine bottle and applied the medicine to my face and hands. When I apply this medicine, even an expert with an excellent sense of smell will not be able to smell me. I walked down the aisle slowly. It stopped a long way away from the secret passageway of the room where the seat of power was located. I used to get closer and look, but there was no need to do that anymore. Because there is now a safe way to look at it. I closed my eyes and released my energy. A ray of energy moved along the passage. After going around the corner for a while, I reached a secret passage. I didn't know until I first learned this secret from my father that I could emit such thin and long energy and use it for exploration in actual combat. Energy escaped through the small gap in the passage. The moment my energy entered a new space, a tremendous presence was felt from one side. It's the Pungcheon religious leader. Indeed, the spirit that felt like that of a religious leader was unusual. I quickly moved my energy in the opposite direction. What I found again was Coriander, which is sensitive to smell. As expected, he was near the sound bell. When I checked on both of them, my energy disappeared. Since it happened once anyway, there was no need to risk being discovered. After safely completing the reconnaissance, I returned to the mountain. After finishing my meal of beef jerky, I sat cross-legged and practiced the heavenly demon defense technique. I will spend the remaining 5 days alone in the mountains without moving. If you wander around for no reason and get pushed by fate and get involved in some strange incident, you could run into trouble. Not creating variables is the minimum courtesy to my past efforts. The day of the Blood God Festival dawned. Before leaving, I looked up at the sky and hoped that today would be successful. When my father told me about the 2 ways to stop the sorcery, I thought to myself that there was a way that was 100 times easier. I went down the mountain, hoping that my thoughts would be correct and I would be able to finish this job safely. The road to Pyeonggyo Bridge was crowded with people wanting to participate in the ceremony. They were of various types. From the head of the Daemun faction who has exchanges with Pyeonggyo to the merchants who try to sell goods to the unmanned attendees of the small faction who just want to make a mark. On the day when the Blood God Festival is held, everyone, regardless of status, must walk to Pyeonggyo Bridge like this. This was the authority of the Blood God. I watched them walk from afar and headed towards the wasteland where there was a secret passage. As I went there, many thoughts came to mind. What if the door suddenly won't open? What if the event is suddenly cancelled? What if the Pyeongchang religious leader changes to ringing the bell himself? What if I was wrong about how to get it? In this way, anxiety threatens to eat away at our soul. In times like this, you have no choice but to believe in yourself. The belief that such misfortune will not come to us, and the belief that even if it does come, we will overcome it well. The best weapon against anxiety is belief in yourself. I arrived near the room where the Pyeongchang cult leader's throne was located through a secret passage, and waited there for the right time to come. Of course, I had applied a drug that prevents me from smelling all over my face, hands, and body. It was decided when to move. When I start ringing the sound bell and hit it 36 times, it is time for me to start the operation. How long did we wait in the dark like that? A bell began to sound faintly. I counted the sounds and waited. After ringing the bell 33 times, we moved slowly and went down the secret passage. When the bell rang for the 35th time, I quietly opened the secret passage in the floor next to the throne and went out. The shackled master was about to ring the final bell. The leader of Pyeongchang Church did not allow any other people into this place where the sacred objects were, so there was only a man wearing shackles. The moment he rang the 36th and final bell, I unleashed the wind god Sabo. I used my secret intelligence to approach the shackled warrior. I approached him silently like a ghost and took pictures of his demonic blood and blood transfusion at the same time. He fell asleep standing up without even realizing what had happened to him. Although it happened in an instant, it was a technique where the best skills were displayed one after another. After subduing him, I went to the Hyolbul temple built behind the Yinlai Bell. The time given to me now is the time it takes for the Pyeongchang religious leader to return here. When I pressed Hyolbul's closed eyes, he opened them. When I opened my eyes, I was scared. When I pressed it again, the pupils popped forward. There was about a third of a white liquid inside the protruding pupil. This is why I have come a long way. The root of the Seoponjutsu learned by the Seoponmazon was the demonic art of the blood religion. The successor to that blood religion is Pyeonggyo. My father already knew this, but there was one thing he didn't know. Blood stabilizing water. It was a holy water passed down secretly only to the leaders of Pyeongchang Church. If you put this blood stabilizing water into your eyes, you will see the destruction method of the blood religion's magic. The essence of witchcraft can be grasped with the eyes. I heard that it was created and passed down from ancient times to prevent rebellion within the school, but the manufacturing method and management method were passed down only to the religious leader and his successors, so outsiders never knew about its existence. The person who told me that fact was Neumbaekgun, the son of the Pyeongchang religious leader. When I came last time, I didn't have time to put this in because I was running away with the sound bell. Now was the moment to finally obtain blood stability water. I took out my blood-filled eyes. There was a small hole above the pupil. Knock. The blood-stabilizing water contained in the right pupil is 1 drop in the right eye. Knock. The blood-stabilizing water contained in the left pupil is 1 drop in the left eye. When the blood-stabilizing essence entered my eyes felt hot and burning, as if they were on fire. There was pain, but fortunately I didn't lose sight or anything. When the pupils were returned to their original positions, they went inward and the blood bulb closed their eyes again. Since there was enough essence left in the eye, it could be given to the next successor without any problem, and they would not even know that these 2 drops of blood-stabilizing water were gone. I entered the underground passage and blew out 2 gusts of wind before completely closing the door. Whoosh! The shackle master woke up. He was confused for a moment, but soon made sure that nothing was going on around him and started doing his job. It was a move I would never have been able to pull off if I wasn't an expert like me. I wondered what story that man had for being tied up like that, but it wasn't a situation where I could save him without even knowing who he was. He was not one of those destined to change with my return. I quietly left the secret passage. When the time came, I was planning to collect the gifts related to Darfar materials one by one, but thanks to the Subsoul Mason, I obtained the blood stabilization essence sooner than expected. Whatever the reason, there is joy when you accomplish something big. It was difficult to express the joy in words, especially as I gained abilities I never had before. It wasn't just because I was able to kill the Soul Mason. It was because I believed that this new power would help me in some way on my journey toward the fire weapon. After leaving the secret passage, I could have relaxed as a winner and enjoyed the Blood God Festival, but I ran toward the main school without even looking back. Until the end, the variable was the envoy. Episode 54. It's not mysterious because it's embarrassing. The night was quiet and desolate. When I entered Hyel Kiondoma's residence, he was sitting by the window and reading a book. It's the most unbecoming look in the world. Hyel Kiondoma raised his head in surprise. Joy spread across my surprised face. I guess I'll have to scold those who stand guard. Don't do that. I came in secretly because I wanted to see the elderly quietly. He looked at my movements and asked with a puzzled expression. Have you just returned to school? Yes. Did you come back and find me first? I'm sorry for ruining your emotions, but your father goes to bed early. Anyway. Yes, that's right. The first thing that came to mind was the old man. Then he shook the bottle of alcohol he had brought. It was a drink that Hyel Kiondoma enjoyed drinking. Drinks were consumed at the back of his residence. All of the subordinates who guarded the place so as not to be disturbed were bitten. Has it already been 2 months since you left school? It's been less than 2 months. As I improved my speed during this mission, I was able to shorten the time when returning. Is Inspector Seo's martial arts training going well? A guy the size of a rat is working pretty hard. The words pretty hard came out of Hyel Kiondoma's mouth. This unfamiliar expression clearly showed what their relationship was like now. Even though he looks crooked, his heart is straight. You've never been crooked towards me. He's also the type of guy who looks at where to lie down and stretches his legs. You will probably be noticed a lot while working hard, and in the meantime, you will still be saying everything you need to say. It seems that Hyel Kiondoma doesn't dislike that guy that much. But at first glance, I saw that the book you were reading was a poetry collection. Are you really reading poetry? Why? Do you think I'm not good at reading poetry? I don't know the level, but at least it doesn't suit me. I also liked books when I was young. I just forgot about it for a while. It's hard to imagine this skinny and strict-looking person's younger days. What were you like when you were young? Well, it was dark and gloomy. It was similar to the investigator. For some reason, Hyel Kiondoma nodded obediently. What if it's like this? What if it's like that? It's a time that has passed anyway. Hyel Kiondoma emptied his drink. I filled his empty glass without saying a word. There are no words to comfort me with my regret over the past years. Because it happened to me once too. Did what you went do go well? Yes. There's going to be a storm again. Is he saying this because he sensed some kind of confidence in the answer of yes? What do you think you went out for? It's going to be bloody. You have a serious misunderstanding of me. I like peace. I like peace too. The quiet yet bloody peace that comes after everything has been brought down with my own hands. I smiled and drank. It was nice to get out after a long time. Would you like to go out for some fresh air with me next time? There are a lot of people who want to kill me when I go out, so I just feel comfortable staying at the main school. He poured a drink into my glass and continued talking. I don't know what you're trying to do, but be careful. In the battle for succession, if something goes wrong once, it's over. What will you do if I mess up? What? I guess I'll have to give it to the Archduke again. You're cool. Of course. What would you do if your body was dead and you were only flapping your wings? I'll have to go find another body. If it was a blood-chopping block, it would really be like that. After feeling sad for a day or two, he will show kindness to the Archduke as if he had never done so before. What's surprising is that even when you imagine something like that, you don't feel that hateful. This is the advantage of the hierarchy cutting board. There is no need to worry about whether this person is a good person or a bad person, whether he will help me until the end or whether he will betray me. He's just the person who will leave if I break down, or the person who will stay by my side. Please do me a favor. What? Please drink with me today and all night long. It's not difficult. I got up from my seat. You said we were going to have a drink, so where are we going? I will bring you some more alcohol and prepare some snacks. Just let the kids do it. I have something I want to buy. I plan to make some amazing snacks for this drinking party. My snack prepared over the past 2 months. I decided to kill the soul mason today. No one would have thought that he would be killed the day he returned from his expulsion. And I will be the one who drank blood and alcohol all night long. Because he will be a witness to my actions. I'll be back soon. After leaving the abode of Hyalkion Doma, I unleashed my dark spirit and launched myself towards the west. Subhonmason was excited today. It was a heart therapy that happens every time, but strangely my heart started beating fast. Is it because it's been a while? It was the first heart and soul Dabiop since Jiamuju came and threatened me to stop Dabiop. Because he threatened me by mentioning the heavenly demon, I had no choice but to stop practicing mind and soul for a while. Of course, it would be okay if I didn't get caught, but I felt uncomfortable because the other person was already convinced of the heart and soul method. The news that Jiamujuk was excommunicated only heightened suspicion. Because it seemed like a ploy to reassure himself and then find evidence. However, my patience reached its limit and I finally resumed the heart and soul treatment today. Whenever I did heart and soul meditation with a gap like this, I always chose a child. Because at times like this, a young heart is the most delicious. The subsoul mason, who was going down the stairs leading to the secret room, glanced back. I felt like something was following me for no reason and my mind was not stable today. But there's no way there's being followed. This was because the secret art of dark spirit, where one's own shadow protects one's back, was unfolding. He assured. Except for the heavenly demon, there is no one in this church who can secretly stand behind his back. The soul mason entered the secret room. The walls were filled with all kinds of bizarre patterns and letters, and incense with a unique smell was burning everywhere. A child was sleeping on the central altar of a secret room. A smile appeared on the lips of the subsoul mason as he looked down at the child. The moment he reached out his hand to wake the child, someone grabbed him by the hair. The soul mason tried to counterattack, but the opponent was moving faster. Match! The soul mason's head turned after being slapped on the cheek. Only after I helplessly allowed myself to be slapped, I was able to swing my double sword and escape from the opponent's grasp. The other person spoke coldly to the soul mason who took a step back. I told you not to do it, right? Only then did the soul mason know who had hit him. It was a sword dance. The soul mason caressed his cheek with an expression of disbelief. No matter how surprising it was impossible, shocking, and shameful. How on earth did you get in? Because you're embarrassed, you're not mysterious at all. For a moment, the soul mason was shocked. Normally, he would deceive people with his voice. The sound echoed, repeated, and even whispered. But now the ordinary man next door looked angry. Is this your essence? He looked like he was going to get angry, but after taking a deep breath, he regained his composure. Even though I misread the scientist, I was very mistaken. Even if you get hit, it's cheap. His voice rang out as he repeated the words, it's cheap even if you get hit. He regained his usual self. You're more like yourself now. This is how it tastes like death. I was disappointed to see you like that earlier. The soul mason was unfazed. Mr. Lee, answer my question first. How on earth did you get here? I followed you in. You might think what I said was a lie, but my answer was true. The soul mason always had his back with the dark spirit secret arts. Even if the wind god's treasure had achieved great success, it was not yet possible to avoid his dark spirit secret art and use the dark spirit's treasure. However, when I put the blood-stabilizing essence in my eyes, I saw the destruction method of the dark spirit secret art, and the moment I destroyed it, my dark spirit treasure was used. Rather, it was like I was hiding in his shadow. What does it matter how I got in? It's important why you came in. Even in this situation, the Seo Ponmazan was able to pull it off. If you're still going to attack the great law of the heart, go away. Because I don't know that kind of method. Then who is this child? You poor orphan. I brought him here to teach him martial arts. You are a coward. What? This time I imitated him. Coward, coward, coward. My voice rang like an echo. Stop. I shot back coldly at his shout. How long are you going to pretend not to know? Does your courage only come from taking the heart out of the body of the weak? The Soul Mason's pupils instantly became as small as dots. The surroundings darkened and then became bright, creating a new space. I was standing on the edge of a cliff. He. The wind blowing from behind tried to push me off the cliff. Have you forgotten my warning? If you see me again, you'll tell me you'll never be able to return to the original world. His voice sounded eerie, like a haunting sound. The Soul Mason created an atmosphere of fear, but I stood tall and wasn't afraid at all. I guess I can't stand being scared if I don't scare the other person like this. It's really amazing. Even if he is the son of a religious leader, how can he show such spirit at his age? His eyes were busy exploring me by repeatedly getting bigger and smaller. Are you here to kill me? Okay. What on earth do you believe in? The words "what to believe" were repeated like an echo. The current echo was not intended to mock me, but to show that his mind was agitated. Then, as the echo died down, he asked, "Did the religious leader send you?" This time, it was a question without any other noise. It would be difficult to think that I would do something like this on my own. If they had tried to kill you, your father would have come in person. Don't you know your father's personality? As the Soul Mason nodded, the surroundings became noisy again. His mutterings, the wind, and all kinds of strange sounds were mixed together. It felt like it was revealing his mental world. I'm going crazy, so let's talk quietly. This is Confucius' will, and we must listen to it. The surroundings darkened and then became bright again. He and I were sitting across from each other in a pavilion with a beautiful view. There was even lukewarm tea on the table in between. Gongya Li. His original voice he returned as an ordinary man. If we have to kill each other, let's talk openly one last time. Sure. We are mine. It is also a mason that reigns over all demons. Is our life so easy that we give choices to the weak? What's wrong with sucking the hearts of those weak things to become stronger? Isn't greed our right? All my choices were for the heavenly demon church. If Wamugi had not come and I had continued to live at the main school, I might have pretended not to have seen this Soul Mason. So, if only the school could become stronger, I might have tried to pretend not to notice, using this cause as an excuse. But my fate has changed. The person I was then and the person I am now are completely different people. The person who tried to become stronger by taking out the child's heart became someone who could not drink tea or drink alcohol in the same place. I became a person who could not breathe while breathing the same air. It's a lie. What? The reason you stole the heart was not for the sake of our school. Just so you can survive for a long time. It is that way now and it will always be that way. If he was truly a person who supported the school, he would have taken revenge after his father passed away. But his choice was to survive the longest among the Parmesans. Thousands of innocent lives are absorbed into his tough and long life. If you were only looking out for yourself, you became a monster. The Sub-Soul Mason, who was staring at me, came to one conclusion. There's no way a kid in his 20s or so could understand me so accurately. You can't follow me and touch my body to avoid the dark spirit's secret arts. You are not a scientist. The Soul Mason's pupils, which had been repeatedly growing and shrinking, began to change color. A dazzlingly brilliant purple wave began to flutter from his eyes. A purple glow emanated from my eyes and penetrated into my soul beyond them. He asked. His question seemed deep and heavy, like a rumbling from the abyss. Who the hell are you?